Hello and welcome to the YouTube upload of the Sinead Osbourne / Tinker character profile. This is a profile that we recorded back in 2016, newly updated with everything that tragic Sinead. Yeah, spoiler, it doesn't go well for her. So you listened to this afternoon, didn't you?
Yes, I apologise. I don't know whose stomach it was. I'm going to assume it was yours, because I'm a lady. Was making really disgusting noises at one point. I don't understand where that came from. I wouldn't normally draw attention to it, but there's no way you're not going to hear this.
And I can't even bother to edit it out. So,
Right,
sorry everybody. Anyway, yeah, Sinead, she's kind of a bit of a hot topic at the moment, isn't she? What with Daniel not quite able to get over her, but still managing to move on at the same time. He's in a bit of a...
everybody's moved on a lot better from Sinead than Daniel has.
Yeah, nobody else is really even mentioning her.
No.
But Daniel can't. Anyway, so we're going to play the character profile from episode 187 first, and then afterwards we'll, as I say, catch up and see what happened to Sinead next. So let's play it and we'll see you on the other side. Our character profile of the week this week is the lovely, beautiful Sinead Tinker.
She's a model.
She is a model. She is newly discovered.
She's the latest thing. Forget Cara Delevingne.
I don't know who that is.
Well, forget her. Just forget I ever mentioned her name. Because the newest model for Fashion Week in London is Sinead Tinker.
Ah.
And you want to name about her vital statistics?
I want to know more about this model. Have you got her measurements? Have you got what's her bust size?
I would say 32B.
She hides it well with her cardies, doesn't she?
Yeah.
No, we don't know what her measurements are, but we do know who her mother is, Arlene Tinker, who we've met once or twice. And we know that she first appeared on the 19th of April 2013. So she's been in the show ever since we've been recording. And I remember,
Sinead has?
Yeah, we've been...
Wow.
Conversation Street has been on longer than Sinead. Almost by a year. And I remember when she came in.
I don't know why that's so surprising.
Yeah, she's only been in about 210 episodes. And she is played, as if you didn't know, by the equally glamorous Katie McGlynn. And I think Katie McGlynn does know how beautiful and glamorous she is, because she's always dressing up very nicely for award ceremonies and for nights out and posting pictures on Twitter.
You don't have to fancy yourself to scrub up well, you know.
Well,
Who was it that said there's no such thing as an ugly woman, only a lazy one? I can't remember who said that.
I don't know who said that. So yes,
it was me. I just said it. That was a test you failed.
Oh, I don't know my fashion quotes. So it was announced on the 22nd of February 2013 that Katie would be taking this part, and she was already well known in this country if you watch Waterloo Road, because she played Jodie Allen in that programme, or Scout, as apparently her nickname was.
Did she have a brother called Jem?
I did think To Kill a Mockingbird connection, and that's all the sadder today because Harper Lee is
popped her clogs, shuffled off his mortal coil, etc.
Yeah, she won't be taken advantage of by her sister or whatever it is. It was it that got all the money off of Harper Lee in the last year.
Not a great situation.
Anyway, this Scout was
let's move away from literary scandals.
Shall we?
Shall we indeed?
Was Waterloo Road was some school programme or something, wasn't it?
Kind of
or soapy,
thing.
I don't know what, but I never watched it.
Thing.
But she was in it, so there's pictures of a Scout in a school uniform and stuff. But anyway, the press release at the time said, as Katie, because this is talking about Katie Armstrong. As Katie struggles to resist the temptation of smooth-talking Ryan Connor, Chesney faces a heartbreaking few months. Will new girl Sinead be his light at the end of the tunnel?
Choo-choo.
Yes, she was. She was, and I'm so glad that she was, because I didn't like Katie, and I didn't like Katie with Chesney together.
No one did.
And I was worried a bit through that first year that they wouldn't actually end up together, but they did.
You were rooting for them, weren't you?
I was rooting for them. I thought that I was a big fan of Sinead right from the beginning, and I'm kind of sad that we're going to be rushing through her stories, because she's been in it 3 years now, and she's still not really done very much, has she? Not
really, but she's had a crack at it, hasn't she?
She has had a crack at a few little storylines, but she seems to be settled down into the the Tinker, Dobbs, brown kind of family circuit there, where they just kind of haul them out for comic relief storylines that last for a week every now and then. So exactly. She's still waiting for a big break, isn't she?
Well, she was introduced because of Beth, her aunt, who was in it before.
Yeah, Beth has been in it for 4 or 5 years.
So 2013 she was introduced when Auntie Beth convinces her to go on a date with Chesney, who was obviously upset because of Katie split up with her. They had a first date that was fine, but there was always this feeling that Chesney was trying to get back at Katie, because they go to the bistro for their first date, and it kind of looks a bit like he's trying to show off to Katie.
Look at my girlfriend.
I have to say that Chesney really is punching above his weight with both Katie and Sinead. No wonder he's so upset.
Well, looks aren't everything, are they?
What else has he got going for him?
Are there any kind of average looking girls on Coronation Street of that age?
Well, like I just said, there's no such thing as an ugly woman, just a lazy one.
Are there any lazy women on Coronation Street?
There's quite a few lazy women. I don't think so. I think they're dead weight when they're not good looking and they're that age, aren't they?
Yeah, sadly.
Sad but true.
So as the year goes on, it becomes even more clear that Katie is, Chesney is just using Sinead to get back at Katie, and they end up arguing and split up. But then they get back together again, and turns out that Sinead is a dab hand with the needle and thread.
You say what?
This is the employee of the month at the factory that year, which seems to have been a competition that ran for the grand total of 1 month during this storyline. Beth was going for it, and she managed to convince Sinead to come and help her with stitching some knickers together.
She was sneaking around and helping.
She was taking
sneaky snoo.
She was taking knickers home in her bag, wasn't she, for Sinead to do, because Sinead had previously done a bit of stitching on Chesney's prima donna top or something. So
the thing is, she was always supposed to be a sort of creative type
soaps,
of person who made soaps, but she's forgotten that she ever did that.
That has fallen by the wayside, and I'd much preferred her to have stuck with that, because factory girls are 10 a penny on Coronation Street, aren't they? And I much prefer her to come up with her own little mini business. I don't know how much money you can make by making soaps. Maybe the whole
ask Lush, Michael, ask Lush.
She could be the new Lush, couldn't she?
I
suppose after that whole her candle nearly burnt down
that
Victoria
never
Court.
Got mentioned. They never discovered. They never said. I was totally convinced that she was going to be torn up because she
it was her candle.
Yeah, it was.
I don't know whether it was mentioned at all.
I'm absolutely sure that the fire brigade would have been able to tell, because they can always find where the source of the fire was, because that's one of the things they investigate. But they never mentioned it.
This wasn't a real candle.
This was some kind of weird hippie candle.
It was a total weird hippie candle. Anyway, we're getting ahead. 2014. So at the beginning of this year, we mentioned this earlier, Chesney buys Sinead this skimpy orange dress, doesn't he? Because he wants her to look gorgeous, which kind of goes a bit against what's happening now.
Yeah,
where he doesn't want people to be ogling his girlfriend. But
don't dwell on the inconsistencies.
She gets this dress off him, and it does kind of look utterly tarty, doesn't it? It's like got lots of cut out panels all the way through. It didn't, because she's obviously the cardigan girl of the street.
Yeah.
And it turns out that Katie is also at the bistro wearing exactly the same thing. It somehow seemed to suit her a lot better. So Sinead starts to worry she's not as attractive as Katie, and then gets drunk. Because this was another thing about Sinead, wasn't it? She was always a teetotaler.
Yeah.
For no particular reason other than she doesn't really like it.
It makes her quirky.
Yeah.
Look at this weird woman.
But she got drunk, and she was quite. She's had a couple of drunk scenes since then, hasn't she? And she's been quite funny when she's been a bit tipsy.
On the sauce.
So she then tried to make a bit of extra cash later that year by making bath bombs. Unfortunately, one of those brought Beth out in a rash, which was referenced again recently.
Very normal thing for happened to Beth.
Yeah. And later in the year, Scylla comes to visit older Fizz's mum with her osteoporosis, and Sinead realises that there's something not quite right with her. So she's a bit of a sympathetic ear for Scylla, isn't she?
Yeah.
Which kind of gives her something to do for a bit, but then Scylla bogs back off to Northampton or wherever it was, and that was the end of that. But she did help build bridges between Chesney and his mum, because when Scylla came back, Chesney didn't want anything to do with her, which is fair enough because of the way that she used to treat him. But Sinead was a bit of a fairy godmother there, and I think they left on good terms, at least, or she went back to on good terms. She had a bit of a spat with Roy at the end of the year, didn't she? You remember when Gary was breaking into the cafe, and I can't remember why, he was in desperate straits or whatever, dire straits, and he was stealing from Roy, and then Roy came at him with a cricket bat and was pummeling him on the street. What a jolly Christmas that was. And Sinead...
Whatever next, Gary?
Sinead was walking down the street, and then she turned against Roy, which was obviously shocking because Roy is lovely. Now, we got to see a bit more of Sinead's family in early 2015, because when Beth got married to Kirk, the whole Tinker clan turned up, and I'd always wanted to see more of the Tinkers. We've been kind of asking to see, her mum or whatever.
We have been asking for it.
Yes, and not only did we see her mum, we also got to see her grandma and her great-grandma as well. And I thought, okay, this is good, they're expanding the family. And I thought all of those characters, particularly, I can't remember which ones were even which now. Was that a granny?
I honestly don't remember.
Blend into one, really.
They really were of a type, weren't they?
They were like complete. They were like the ultimate chav women family, weren't they? And I thought they were quite funny, but it's really disappointing to me that they haven't been back since. Because I want more of an expanded Tinker family. I think probably a lot of people would.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they're a popular family, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, the Tinkers that we have at the moment. So but maybe it wasn't to be. We got to see one of them, grandmother or great grandmother, a bit later on, because Sinead's, is this her biggest storyline when she was involved in the minibus crash?
Yes, I think so.
She had undone her seatbelt minutes before the crash last year, and because a mobile had dropped on the phone, and she ended up quite worse for wear, didn't she? And she had to have a physio.
She had to lie in the bed for quite a lot of time, and people came and saw her. And
she had she'll never walk again.
And she could, she was sort of paralysed or something. And she made friends with a guy called Sam who was in a wheelchair, and he was kind of threatening. He seemed like a bit of a threat to Chesney and Sinead's relationship, and now we've never mentioned again, and it didn't go anywhere.
No, he was just like a jolly Irish chap, wasn't he? And he seemed to have the hots for Sinead a bit, or that's what Chesney were kind of assumed.
Well, we all assumed it because they made sort of a big deal about it.
I don't think that Sinead particularly fancied him. She just liked having a mate at the hospital, but Chesney's still insecure about having this beautiful woman as his girlfriend. But Sam kind of rolled off into the sunset and he never came back again. I'm glad, to be honest.
Weird.
But maybe he'll come back again. Maybe maybe he's into Scottish knitwear and he'll see Sinead doing modelling.
It's totally possible.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe we'll see that again. But anyway, Grandma Agnes came to visit Sinead in hospital, but not even her mum did. The problem with that being Sinead's biggest storyline is we didn't really get to see very much of it, did we? There were a couple of scenes of her in bed, and then we saw the end of the storyline when she was released from hospital. So it was
it's kind of like
nothing.
Kind of like how people are these days with Jesus. You only sort of think about him at Christmas and Easter.
And at the end,
and he sort of jumps out of
on your deathbed
back to life, and you're like, "That's nice. Can I have a chocolate?"
And then
exactly the same.
It is exactly the same as that. We had Sally comparing herself to Jesus in tonight's Coronation Street.
Yes, because she, just like him,
why not Sinead?
Call for impromptu rallies, but she didn't hand out any loaves and fishes.
No. Anyway, she gets discharged from hospital, does Sinead, and
wheels off.
She before long she's hobbling about.
Normal.
She has a scene where she's trying to get some biscuits off of a shelf, doesn't she? And then she pulls it all down on top of her. And
but who hasn't done that? It's got nothing to do with having any kind of physical impairment.
Well, before long, she is busying herself making candles that burn down blocks of flats and things. So she's all fine.
It's all fine.
She was involved in the Alia storyline a bit last year, wasn't she? When she slept with Jason, and Alia confided in Sinead about what had happened. But then that all came out in the open, so Sinead didn't need to be a secret keeper anymore, so that kind of turned into nothing. And then this year, she is being the new face of the O'Driscolls' new knicker campaign, because she is just a normal woman, and that's what the O'Driscolls like.
They like everyone to be normal.
Yes. So that is a very short potted history of Sinead. She's been in the show for 3 years, but hasn't really been given a time to shine.
Why do you think they're going down this route with her and doing this knicker stuff? Because, let's be fair, it wasn't actually knickers and stuff, was it? It was, like, sleepwear and pyjamas, the stuff we saw. But they did keep referring to it as underwear, so it makes me wonder whether she just said, I'm not doing any bra and pants stuff.
I don't know, yeah.
It really, the photo shoot they did with her looked more like a kind of, like, teenage fashion label.
Mm.
Like, kind of, like a cult fashion, almost like a Harajuku kind of Japanese fashion style.
Did it?
Very bright and cheerful, and it's not at all...
It wasn't like sleazy or sexy or anything,
well, no, but as a grown woman, none of the pictures looked like they related to anything that would interest me, because it was all bright colours and...
Yeah.
She looks very young.
Yeah, obviously appealing to a
I think they look like a teenage audience, but to me, Underworld's always seemed like a company that was making underwear for normal women.
This is the O'Driscoll's campaign, though, isn't it? So, I think
they've never come out and said it was for teenagers.
No, they haven't. You're right. I think it does just seem to be an excuse for Chesney to get insecure about the whole situation, and one of these days, she's gonna get fed up and leave him. I think, because there's been a few times already that's not been as part of any storyline where we've seen Sinead getting a bit fed up of Chesney's kind of pipe and slippers attitude to life.
Yeah, exactly.
Where she wants. She is kind of frumpy and she is kind of normal girl next door type, which is perfect for Chesney, but even so she does want to have a bit more of an exciting life than he does. Do you remember that scene when was it Alia's first scene when her and somebody went to a nightclub somewhere and she was doing some weird dancing in the background?
Yeah,
vaguely. So she does have it in her to have a bit of life, but so I think that eventually she's going to move on from Chesney and he's going to be left heartbroken and alone again.
Wah, wah.
But I hope not, because I like them as a couple, but they just don't have any proper storylines, do they? I think
no.
Chesney might well be kind of skating on thin ice in the programme.
I wonder how much he is going to be around, to be honest, because he's not done anything interesting.
No, he's in charge of the kebab shop, but that's no big deal, isn't it?
But he remembers that.
Yeah, I remember.
The only time they ever have the kebab shop in any of these days is Leanne and Simon are kicking the crap out of each other.
Upstairs, yeah. And then, exactly. So they could get rid of Chesney, but I think they would be unwise to get rid of Sinead, if only because of the fact that it's always good to have a set of beautiful actresses on your cast to shine at the awards show. And but as a character, it's not that interesting at the moment.
Sadly not.
I was very much for her at the beginning because I thought, oh, this is nice. This is just a normal person and she's just a normal girl.
Yeah, you did. But I think you partly liked her because she didn't drink.
I did. I enjoyed. I liked that because that is like me.
She's just like you in many ways.
But it turns out that people like me don't make that necessarily interesting soap characters. Who'd have thought?
Strange.
So, do you think is there anybody that they could pair Sinead up with that would let her kind of shine a bit more?
No.
What about? I mean, there's not many eligible bachelors of that age, is there? I mean,
there isn't, and they're all hunky. And the thing is that Chesney and Sinead and the whole, Battersby Brown clan just all seem to be made for each other.
They do. They're all. But I mean, if she gets fed up and wants to try something more glamorous, maybe. I mean, what about the likes of Luke? Maybe he's not particularly too old for, is it? I don't know what the age difference is there. Could you see those two together? Because he's a bit more exciting.
I believe they're always trying to make him into a comedy character, and I think it would fall completely flat if he tried to spark off of Sinead, because who would be the funny one and who would be the straight man?
I don't think either of them are necessarily funny enough to.
No.
Yeah. I can't think. There's not really anyone left for her to go out with, is there? Don't know. Well, maybe she'll have to stay with Chesney then.
Sorry, Sinead.
Yeah. I'd like her to have a long-term future with the show, but
If they said tomorrow Sinead's leaving, I'd say that's sad.
Yeah, that's the same as I think. I mean, that's a shame that didn't really work out.
Yeah, it is. It feels like it didn't work out, but who knows where this storyline's going to go? I mean, I feel like I've played it out in my head already.
Yeah,
but it could go differently.
She could very well end up being on Kate Oak's chopping block because Sinead is obviously. Oh, is she a Stuart Blackburn creation? I can't remember whether she's come in since his time in it.
That we agreed that she was telling the truth when she said that she loves everybody, Kate Oakes, and she doesn't want anyone to be scared and worried.
I know, we did say that, didn't we? We did say that, but I mean, you can understand why Stuart Blackburn wouldn't want to get rid of Sinead if he was the one that introduced her into the programme. But if a new producer comes along and thinks that it's a bit of a deadweight character...
Chop, chop, chop.
Yeah, exactly. Same with possibly some of the Desires as well. So it seems a bit sad, but I've got nothing else to say about Sinead at the moment. She's just kind of normal, and she's one of these characters that's there, and you have to have these characters that are just there.
She's got a nice funny voice.
She has got a funny voice.
I tell you one
thing,
impressions of. Is she's a completely believable character. Like everything about her is very authentic.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that Katie McGlynn is like her in real life.
No, she's not. I really don't think she is.
I think she has managed to craft a really convincing,
believable
personality.
person.
Yeah, for Coronation Street. I mean, I don't know if she'd fit into any other programme. Who knows? But yeah. She totally fits into Coronation Street, and it'd be a shame if she left. But what has she really achieved when she's there? Does she need new writers? Does she need a new direction? Is this new direction that she's being taken in the right one?
I think try anything, to be honest, because she's just...
Throw it against the wall and see what sticks. See
what happens, yeah. Because if she's not careful and then they get rid of her, she'll just completely be a character that you look back on 10 years' time and go, oh yeah, remember Sinead? I don't really remember much about her, which is a shame because I really, really, really want to like her.
Yeah.
I don't dislike her at the moment.
No. I mean, the thing is, right, at the end of the day, when we do these character profiles and we at the end of them naturally are forced to evaluate the characters, like stay on the show and talk about what an impact they've made, and a lot of the time we're going to say not a great deal, wouldn't miss them if they went, but that's only because you've got to inevitably compare them to really amazingly famous characters who have stood the test of time and people still talk about today.
Yeah.
And not everyone is going to be like that, and that doesn't mean that they're bad and not fun to watch or bad at acting or unlikable or any of that. It's just that sometimes there are background characters, and we do like the colourful background characters, and they are good fun.
I think everybody kind of likes the Tinker Brown.
Well, I think they're really important to Corrie at the moment because they're one of the few old school Corrie kind of.
And they're one of the few kind of real families, aren't
they?
People are like that.
Yeah, like everyone is united and they face adversity together, and they've got a sweet yet dysfunctional relationship and all the rest of it, and they're not off cheating with each other. They're not causing.
You can't imagine any of them having that kind of
and
storyline, can you?
It's all a bit of throwaway nonsense. It's a bit frivolous and silly, but you don't really want them to get too far into anything heavy because that will change their character.
Yeah.
So Sinead.
That is Sinead and
we
the
like
Tinkers.
Sinead.
We do like Sinead. I think she's great. But
not wrong with Sinead.
But yeah, she's got a good voice. But what was the thing they had the other? They made reference to her voice, didn't they? A few weeks ago, I can't remember where she said, "Have I got?"
Didn't they say anything about I've got a funny voice?
Yeah, it was when Johnny was saying that he was fed up of Sally's voice around the factory, wasn't he? And then like the final punchline of that was Sinead saying, "Have I got a stupid voice?"
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't.
No, you don't. It's just interesting.
That's enough of us rambling about Sinead. Show us what you can do, girl. And you scrub up nice.
Yeah, don't take too much of your kit off, though, in the pursuit of that, showing us what you've got.
No.
Because I can imagine and think everyone else can.
Right, let's move on and talk about some news in the cabin now.
Right, there you go. That was really interesting, considering what happens to her after this. We were talking about how Chesney, it's not really right for her, and we wonder who she might end up with.
Yeah, I suggested Luke. Yeah. I think I could see that working. Yeah, he hadn't had the equally tragic end as Sinead. Or I suppose his was quick, wasn't it? Luke's death wasn't lingering.
No, that's true. Yeah, but and I also spoke about the fact that like her and some of the other characters are like comedy characters who shouldn't really have any dark things happen to them.
That's hilarious.
Because it doesn't really suit the character or something. I can't remember. But it is very, very weird because it seems as though somebody was listening to that and just went, right, opposite of everything they've just said, we'll do that and see what happens.
I think that person was Kate Oates, because she certainly...
Or is it Kate Oakes, as she called her?
Kate Oakes, I may have referred to it. She certainly went down a bit of a dark path afterwards. I mean, it started off with just the standard affairs kind of stuff. She kisses Aidan at one point when she's modelling for him. Yeah. She falls out with Chesney for a bit because Eva tells him, but then they patch things up and everything's looking good for now. But then 2016, no, 2017. Oh, dear me, who should come into Sinead's life but Dishy Daniel Barlow? Osbourne. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what anyone's called on this programme, don't trust me. Dishy Daniel Osbourne comes in and she tries to resist temptation with boyish good looks and
his floppy hair.
Yeah, but sadly they end up bonking in the underroom storeroom.
Underworld.
Oh my gosh, I got all my words wrong today. Underworld storeroom, highly recommended by Johnny and Jenny. It's got 5 stars from both of them now.
They should put that on Airbnb.
Totally.
It's all been changed now. That's probably why they changed it.
Oh yeah, they had to do a deep clean of the Underworld storeroom when they renovated it.
That's why they renovated the bistro as well.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Mucky goings on in that walk-in freezer.
Grim. So Chesney ends up kicking Sinead out after that because Adam tells him, and he's like, "Hang on a minute. First Aidan, now Daniel. I'm not dealing with this. You're out." So Sinead and Daniel in 2017 are the hot new couple. It doesn't take long for her to find out that she's pregnant with Daniel's baby, but Ken doesn't like this. He persuades her to have an abortion. Why did he even do it?
No, I can't remember.
Why didn't
it just seems
Ken?
Really... wasn't it to do...
It was like he was asking to be pushed down the stairs. I don't know.
Wasn't it to do with his education? Wasn't he saying, oh, he's far too intelligent to have a baby?
Knowing Ken, it was probably along the lines of...
He's got a very...
He's too smart for you.
Prestigious career... In academia ahead of him.
Yeah, she has an abortion on Ken's advice. He doesn't want him to be burdened down her, and then Daniel finds out and pushes Ken down the stairs in an amazing whodunit. And I think Sinead was...
Ken forgets.
Ken was a suspect at some point during that.
Everyone was a suspect.
So was everybody. Well, as soon as it turns out that it was Dan what done it, Sinead leaves him to go back to Chesney again. Safe, boring Chesney, who would never do anything like that.
And Chesney became the most exciting he's ever been.
Just briefly.
He decided to bash himself in the head with a brick.
Which
was my favourite Chesney move of all time.
He tries to make sure that Sinead is no way going to go back to Daniel again.
Daniel's
she's going to stick with him.
He hit me with a brick.
Yeah, but it was actually him. The things you do for love, eh?
I've never hit myself in the face with a brick.
You don't love me enough.
No, clearly not.
Tragedy strikes Chesney at the end of the year. Katie dies. You know Katie is ex-squeeze and mother of Joseph. So Joseph ends up coming back to live with Chesney and Sinead. So Sinead's a bit of a mum for a bit. So that's lovely. They're a nice, happy family. What could go wrong? They even get engaged.
Yeah, because Chesney wants them to be a family.
Yes.
He obviously doesn't care about that anymore.
No.
He's actually had children with Gemma now, and he's like, nah.
Yeah, well, you careful what you wish for, Chesney, because by gum, have you got a family now?
Yeah, and you can't get out of it.
No, but you could get out of this one because early 2019, January, February time, he jilts poor Sinead at the altar of the hotel. Maybe it's not an altar. The table at the front, the lectern, the lovely flower arrangements, because he isn't sure that she's going to stay faithful. She's too much of a floozy. I think it wasn't even Daniel sniffing around outside the door.
I feel
trying to lure Sinead back away to him.
Saying this, looking back on all this, I have very often thought, and I still stand by it rightly, that Sinead is a rather boring character. But she does seem to have had exciting things happen to her. And also, don't feel as though most of what has happened to her is anything down to her agency. Seems as though she's surrounded by incompetent nitwit men who are really concerned with messing her life up as much as possible. You got Ken convincing her to have an abortion. You got Daniel and Chesney fighting over her, hitting themselves with bricks and sniffing around outside hotel rooms trying to stop weddings.
Yeah. Don't fight over me, lads. Not worth it. One thing that you could blame Sinead for, and certainly some people did, by the end of the year, was her not going through with proper cancer treatment. Because tragically, in August maybe 2018, she finds out that she's got cervical cancer. She finds out on the same day that she gets married to Daniel in that pagan wedding ceremony, which wasn't a real wedding. For extra drama.
It wasn't an official wedding.
It wasn't an official wedding,
and I think they wouldn't mind me saying that. I think the whole point was that it wasn't supposed to be.
No, well, they ended
official.
up getting married again the next year, didn't they?
Ceremony for themselves.
Well, if Femtake Kirk was officiating it, I don't think anyone's going to anyone's going to say that that's official. So she doesn't even tell Daniel because she doesn't want to risk the baby's life, and that was quite a hotly debated topic, wasn't it? About should she take the treatment? How much of a risk is it to the baby? Is her life more important than its life? She ends up collapsing in the Rovers because it gets so bad. Then agrees to have chemo, but she skips it in favour of Kale Smoothies. She has that friend, Steph, I think her name was Steffi or something, who tries to persuade. Yeah, she doesn't last long. She tries to persuade her that if you eat enough fruit and veg,
she's Steve Jobs her. And it didn't work.
No. So, in the end,
you don't need to have cancer treatment. The reason anyone ever dies of cancer is because they don't have enough kale in their system.
It was very noble, and she wanted the baby to survive, but I don't know. Maybe now's not the time for this debate. But no. One thing I found interesting when I was revisiting this was what Beth, Kirk, and Chesney decided to do for Sinead after that, and that is rob Dev so that they could pay for Sinead to have experimental treatment in Germany. Recycled stories much?
I know, it's terrible. It really
I think
is.
everything
really
that Steve and Leanna and everyone's saying this week about, how should we get the money to pay for this £500,000? Just Rob Dev. I'm sure he's got £500,000 in the back of his till.
The reason that poor Emma is doing a sponsored silence right now is because Dev is destitute.
That's true. You can't. No point robbing him.
If they could rob Dev, they would do without a moment's thought because he's the place to go to. But because
if you want to fund German medical treatment,
if he's hard up on cash, you've got to resort to the next best thing, which is sponsored silences.
Yeah, I think that, how did they rob? Was one of them was it Chesney was taking the takings from Prima Donna and then Kirk dressed up as there's a Bistro Ninja in there.
It sounds stupid.
It was some silly little scheme. Well, it had Kirk involved, so it was never going to work, is it? No.
She didn't go for treatment, so I assume
she didn't. It was around about this time, and I can't remember exactly when it was that they had that special. There was like a standalone episode that had just had the 5 characters in. Do you remember? It had Sinead, Daniel, Ken.
I don't know if I watched it.
Yeah, you definitely did. You definitely watched that.
Is this when I said I'm not watching this anymore?
No, I think it was quite a way before that, actually. But yeah, it was...
Oh, no, because it was, this was fine.
Miserable.
No. What the original treatment was okay because we were kind of led to believe, I don't know, that everything's going to be okay at the end. Like, we didn't know if she was going to live or die, but assumed that she wouldn't.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year... she gets told it's spread and she gets induced and then she goes on chemo.
Yeah, it's after 6 months. So Bertie's born 3 months premature. So there's some very touch and go, tragic video calling to the early baby unit, or I don't know what you call it, from Sinead to baby Bertie, who's clinging on to life. Then... I can't remember. She kind of gets better during the year.
I think it goes all right.
I think it goes okay. I think that the treatment's fine. This might have been a year actually when she started up her beard oil business properly,
yes,
and she was it also when she and Daniel were competing with Kathy and Brian to buy that property opposite Speed Dial, which still nothing has happened with. Because she wanted to.
I bet they're all glad they didn't.
She wanted to have some.
Now,
yes, you're right. Actually, some upcycle clothes store or something.
She had a lifelong dream of upcycling clothing, which she stole from Gina, who upcycled hats. Because that was her life's passion. That would enable her to buy more dog plates.
That's good. Well remembered. Anyway, she has to put the brakes.
I have a very good memory for really random...
obscure trivia. Well, she has to put the brakes on it anyway because Beth decides that she wants to plan a proper wedding for Sinead, so they put this
surprise wedding.
They put this surprise wedding together
for the participants.
The biggest surprise was that Sinead finds, or Beth finds, I think, a lump on Sinead's neck when she's getting her hair ready.
Oh, it
on the day of the wedding, wasn't it? And I can't remember at that point whether you were watching it because this is when you decided
I'm out
of this story, which you've never done before on Coronation Street, have you? It was too close to the bone, too tragic, too depressing. I carried on watching it, and there was some really, really great TV during here, but it really was heavy stuff. So they go through with this wedding, bittersweet ceremony. Daniel and Sinead go to the hospital the next day, and before long they're told, terminal, nothing we can do. You've got, I can't remember how long she was given. Was it like 3 or 4 months to live at first? But then that's, 6 weeks later, she's gone. It spreads quite quickly. She decides against going to a hospice in favour of staying at home. And there were some nice scenes. Like I remember one where she reaches out of a window to feel the rain, and it's all very sweet and everything. There was even some drama with Bethany involved because Daniel doesn't even wait until Sinead's cold before moving on to the next hot blonde on the street. He's confused, bless him. And I remember at the time when I heard that was going to happen, I thought, no, they don't need to do that. It's already bad enough that Sinead's dying. You don't need to add any extra wrinkles and complications. But when it actually happened and Ken caught Daniel and Bethany snogging in the ginnel, I did go, ooh. Terrible, I know. Anyway, Sinead finds out. I think she forgives him. And she ends up recording a load of videos, which we're still treated to this day. Every now and again, and then we see Daniel propping Bertie up at the breakfast table, watching his mummy telling him about whatever. And that is why she has appeared in 5, 6, 7 episodes, maybe, since she's died, which is more than you can say for pretty much any other character on Coronation Street.
Very impressive post-mortem appearance rate.
It is. I hope she gets special rates for it.
And so, in some of instances, it could be argued that she appears as a ghost.
Oh, yeah, she does, doesn't she? She's not just being seen on the video. There was one...
She, inhabits people's bodies.
Mostly other blondes. Daniel gets hit by a car, doesn't he?
About hair dye. It's like a conduit.
Yeah. Was it Kathy, maybe, that knocked over Daniel at one point? And then when he's coming around and he's woozy on the floor, then he hears Sinead voice, and you see Katie McGlynn came back for that, but it was just Bethany. But he starts even properly believing that Bethany is just Sinead, doesn't he? And he even gets drunk that one time and proposes to her and says, "Sinead, will you marry me?" Oops. To Bethany, and that's what makes Bethany go, "Right, I'm checking out of this. This is too weird."
Do you think that Daniel's gonna hunt down every single eligible blonde woman on Coronation Street and eventually just cause a mass exodus to make way for more ginger women?
Maybe redress the balance a bit. Possibly. Well, anyway, that is the end of Sinead, and considering that we'd said in the profile back in 187 that we didn't want her to go down the dark route, like you said, she did nothing but, really.
And I also said that out of the two, out of her and Chesney, because they were dating at the time, I'd rather Chesney left than Sinead. And again, complete opposite happened. Yeah,
certainly. I really feel like she was a character that had an awful lot of potential. I think she pleasantly surprised a lot of viewers with how great an actress she was in those past few years as well, because she came in as just a bit of a dopey, not ditzy isn't maybe the right word, eccentric girl next door type, didn't she? She wasn't particularly remarkable, but she was a bit kooky and weird, and that was beaten out of her a little bit, wasn't it? But she definitely stepped up to the plate, Katie did, when it came to showing what dramatic acting that she was capable of doing. So good on her for that, really. It's a shame. I would have liked her to have stayed. I think there's a lot more that they could have done, but she wanted to go, so
they killed her off.
Don't think she's coming back.
She might do.
And it's certainly...
Of all the people that have died on Coronation Street, she's the one I'm most confident will return.
I mean, like we said earlier, Daniel's a clever chap, so I'm surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't, create some sort of robo-Sinead 10 years down the line.
Who knows?
Who knows indeed. Well,
maybe studying literature at university opens many doors, Michael.
Yeah, maybe
it certainly doesn't close any towards robotics.
Maybe it depends on how Katie McGillen's post-Coronation Street career pans out, because she did a bit of panto the first Christmas. She was Tinkerbell somewhere, but
nobody's doing panto this year.
Nobody's doing panto this year. I feel sorry for all those ex-soap stars. But she's also recently started filming The Syndicate, which is that BBC drama about the people who win the lottery syndicate. So that sounds like a really interesting concept for a programme. There's been 3 series of it.
Sounds like it would be heartbreaking for me.
Oh, I know. I'd maybe be interested in watching that. But I do wish her the best of luck. It's just the whole, what's been going on this year has put a dampener on lots of dramatic types. Anyway, so that was about it. She left Coronation Street triumphantly. She got the NTA for serial drama performance in 2020, so the world's her oyster, really.
But it's an oyster that's rapidly going a bit. You need to pop that in the fridge.
Yeah. I also wanted to point out, so just because I've written it in the notes here, that her exit was very, very... Not telegraphed isn't the right word. People knew about it long before people were supposed to know about it, because she was one of the people whose exit were leaked early in 20...
It were leaked, were it?
It was leaked in early 2019. Do you remember there was that week where it was just seeming like person after person was announced that they were leaving, or it was leaked that they were leaving? But I think Katie McGillen stayed quiet about it. And then at the British Soap Awards that May, June, Lisa George kind of accidentally reveals it because she says, I'll miss working with her. And then it wasn't until many months later. So, we had a long time to prepare for it. And it's a brave thing to do, to say, kill me off. It feels right. Sometimes life isn't, a fairy tale. Sometimes you don't just end up in the back of a taxi. Let's go for it. Hopefully she doesn't regret it. And I leave. If I think back on the character of Sinead, I'm thinking, she was all right. She was okay. I'd like it if she'd have stayed a bit more kooky, but I've got fairly fond memories of her, even though knocking around with Chesney knocked a bit of the sheen off of her, I suppose. What's your overall lasting impression?
I don't feel like I can really judge her very well, because like you said, I didn't watch most of her final months, so I don't really feel like I've got a good perspective.
Do you look back and think...
I feel like her legacy was marred a bit, because I definitely think that you can look at the 2 character profiles the character profile we just did, and then the one we've just caught up with, and say there was definitely a breaking point when Sinead went from being a sweet, kooky, candle-making, girl who didn't drink and didn't wear sexy clothes, and then there was suddenly like a breaking point, and then she turned into like a love triangle man-eater.
You're right, she did get sexed up a bit, didn't she?
Caught up in romance stuff and misery. It really was as soon as she started dating Daniel. And you thought it was bad enough to date Chesney, but she moves in with Daniel and then gets pregnant, and then the abortion, and that really was the watershed moment for the character, turning into a tragic figure who was more about what has been done to her by life than her personality, which was not at all how she was introduced to us. She was a personality type character at the beginning, and
she became more...
a sad end.
It's a bit like Maria, really, who also came in as, girl next door type, but then had a makeover and has become this sexy temptress ever since.
Anything bad.
Do you remember that? I can't remember whether it was at the time of the first character profile or since then, that she had that moment where she where Carla convinced her to put on these sexy undies and seduce Chesney or Daniel.
Grim.
And I think the old Sinead wouldn't have done that, but they wanted somebody, I guess, Coronation Street, who they could put on the soap magazines, go for the sexiest female. I don't know whether when they start doing that.
Yeah,
and she was a good looking girl, so why not? I just wish sometimes that Coronation Street would keep their dowdy sounds horrible, but you know what I mean. They're less
modest.
But the modest, less glamorous characters. It'd be lovely if they could stay less glamorous, because we're not all like that in real life.
I mean, I am. But I tried to tone it down for the
obviously. One final thing, because I know we've been going on long for this.
What?
Just wanted to do a shout out to Lisa George and what a great job that she did during Sinead's final episodes, and that's nothing that you've seen, but you've heard about, and we've been ragging on Beth for quite a few years now, just because of how chewing a waspish she's become, and how horrible and critical and just not a nice piece of work, is she?
It's not a Beth profile.
It's really put me off Beth, but those few weeks and the last weeks of Sinead's life, Lisa George really did step up to the plate, and she made that character completely sympathetic and lovely, and she did a wonderful job. So I appreciate Sinead's death for that, at least. And anyway, that's it. You're right, we're not doing a Beth character profile, we're doing Sinead. C'est tout, c'est fini.
Maybe, who knows? She's been in 570 episodes. She could be in more. She could be in one in 18 years' time. When
I don't know whether I want to see the world where she comes back. I think the Robo Sinead.
No,
maybe.
I mean in video form.
Oh my! If they haven't recorded a load of videos for them to play at random points in the next 20 years, they've been missing a trick.
It depends on what's going to happen with Bertie.
Oh yeah, I know, but
I think Bertie just dies. Seen as what they like to kill off children and
he didn't have his injections earlier this year, did he?
Medical misfortunes.
They really should have prepared in advance. Just let's record Katie McGlynn saying some random things so that they can pull that out in 5, 10, 20 years' time. So easy to do. I don't know what the payment rights are. Does Katie McGlynn say, I sign this and you can use it as much as you want? Or, yeah, when you play this in 10 years, I'm expecting an extra £5 in my bank account, please.
Nice.
Or however much. But I don't know. They totally should have done. And the fact that she's related to...
They have already done that.
Oh, yeah, they have sometimes, but I'm thinking long term. And the fact that, with fingers crossed, Daniel's going to stay as the Barlow backbone on the street for a long time to come, then there should be ample opportunity.
Bertie is a significant character, if only for his lineage, because he is the great-grandson of Ken.
No, he's the grandson of Ken.
Oh, yeah, the grandson,
Yeah. Absolutely, the Barlow line must stay strong. So I think that, like Simon,
like something out of Game of Thrones.
I know, totally. Like Simon in a way, and then they're not doing much with him. I think if Alex Bain plays his cards right, he could stay as the Barlow for years to come.
The Barlow,
but yeah, maybe Bertie will have to see. So there'll always be a place for Sinead's video diaries on Coronation Street. I'll have to see. Anyway, I said that we're finished 5 minutes ago, so
that's it.
We're definitely finished. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening and tuning in. And don't forget our normal podcast as well, where we blather on about other Coronation Street related
Do we have a theme tune in this bit?
No, there's no theme tune.
Oh,
there's no theme. I'm just ending it. The end.
Bye.
Bye.